Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord has a ton of different options at your disposal for choosing a build for your game. Whether you want to be a Vlandian Knight, a Stygian Berserker, a Battanian Fiend, whatever it is, you have plenty of ways to do it. In this video today, we're going to be focusing on a Vlandian Knight build. I'm going to be taking you through how you would go through character creation. We're then going to talk about how those skills would progress through the game, as well as giving you some tips on how to properly allocate certain skills and certain factors, as well as the attribute points. And then we'll go over your equipment breakout. Again, a lot of this stuff is going to be really themed or RP based. It is less so from a min-max perspective, because there are so many things in Bannerlord that are actually really up to you, and way less of a, again, a min-max kind of approach. So let's kind of open up with character creation and go from there. As always though, don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe if you do enjoy this video, and I will be starting to roll out more of these builds. So if you have a suggestion for a build you'd like to see, or one that you'd really like to focus on, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. But let's get started here on this Vlandian Knight build for Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord. Alright, to start us off, let's go through some character creation. Now, something to keep in mind with the culture, I'm going to be choosing Vlandian just for the kind of roleplay aspect of this build. If you want to really min-max this, you can go with Battanians. Now keep in mind, anything that you see at the end of this video, or I'm sorry, at the end of the character creation section, as far as the life choices I've gone with, they will be different based off of your culture. And I know that a lot of people probably already know that, but just to kind of remind you. So basically what you want to do though is, if you don't go with Vlandian, just make sure you kind of pick something that loosely follows the skills that we go through here. So let's go ahead and press next. And as always, if you're making a character in Bannerlord, if they're not bald and bearded like myself, what is even the point of playing the damn game? Go ahead and do, it's all right, kind of scraggly. God, he's going to barber. Okay, so we're going to go with a Baron's Retainer. This is going to give us a point into polearm and then a point into riding. These are of course going to be two of the big things that we're going to be using, along with one-handed and athletics. Depending upon how you want to approach the character, you can maybe put some smithing in there to make your own lance. And then we're going to be focusing on stuff like charm, leadership, steward, and maybe medicine. We'll take a look at that as we kind of move through this. Moving forward though, we're going to be choosing then your skills with a horse. This is going to give you some endurance as well as riding. Now the nice thing about endurance is it's going to also help out with your athletics gain. Athletics is going to be crucial. Even though you are playing a Vlandian Knight, you do not want to neglect your athletics. Trust me. Then we're going to go with sold produce at the market. This is going to give us a point into social. It's going to give us a point into trade, which isn't as crucial, but in the very beginning of the game, it can really help you in getting a lot of your income off the ground, and it gives us a point into charm. Moving forward here, we can now choose trained with the infantry. You can go with trained with the cavalry if you so wish, but in my opinion, this gives you another focus point into riding, and you get another point into endurance, which is good and all, and another point into polearm. But I like the kind of variety that you get with trained with infantry, because it gives you a point into vigor and one into one-handed, as well as one into polearm. You're going to be getting skill with riding very easily, so I'm not too worried about focusing a ton into that. I just want to get a little bit to get it off the ground, so that you can get access to better horses earlier in the game faster, to make you being a knight a little bit more of a punch. Now you can choose some other stuff here, like joined with the skirmishers, but I'm not going to be using anything in this build for control. You could be pulling stuff into crossbow if you so wish, if you want to take that route for your Vlandian character, as crossbows are typically associated with Vlandia, but we're just not going to do that here today. Training with the infantry, and then last thing you've got is basically another one that's going to give you another set of good points here. I think that stuff like you had a famous escapade in town helps you get a little bit of athletics. You kind of lose this point into roguery, and it does kind of really buff up your endurance. But I really like to get my social up here. And the reason I'm going this route is because this is giving me another point into charm, and I'm getting social 5, which is great. I'm going to be able to gain leadership very quickly when I want to. And this gives me a point into steward, so it's going to help me out as well when it comes to increase my party size. And I'll have a point from medicine that I'll have gotten, I think it's 2 steps back here or so. Oh, actually, your skill with horses gives you that point into medicine, which is nice. Now, you can focus heavier into intelligence, but I find that intelligence and steward will go up very quick on their own. And when we press this next button, we're going to choose our age to be 30. So this is going to give us 2 unspent attribute points, which we would probably put 1 into intelligence, if not 2, maybe another 1 into endurance here. I find everything vigor related goes up just very quickly. So that is our initial character here. We're going to go ahead and create him and put him in the game, and then we'll go through how these skills kind of make their way into the game, as well as some equipment options and whatnot. So after character creation, we have the initial portion where we have some attribute points and some focus points to allocate. So let's go over that really quick before, again, moving into the larger discussion about skills, because this is going to be how you start your game. So you do have to decide here if you want to go into smithing at all. I have opted not to for this character, but again, as I'll say throughout the video, this is how you would make the best lance possible, or if you want to just use blacksmithing, you would do it right now. So I'm going to put 1 point here into one-handed to just match up with our polearm. I'm going to put 3 points into athletics, because athletics is really crucial to get up as fast as possible, especially in the mid and late game when you're doing a lot of big sieges. Then lastly, we're going to put 1 more point into steward, because steward is going to be pretty crucial here. So some things to focus on now before we talk about attribute points. 1 is medicine. You will want a surgeon because they will have a much higher medicine skill, and that is difficult to kind of raise on its own. You might as well get the person that's got 60, 80, 120, whatever it is, that higher medicine skill. But getting your medicine, and it's going to be beneficial here in a second, up to 25 to get self-medication is huge. Increase character's healing rate by 30% and increase character's movement speed by 2%. So you get a nice double benefit from this, and it's pretty quick to get in the initial portion of the game. If you did my start, there's only 15 points you have to earn in this, and you're probably going to get that in the first couple hours here. And we're going to increase that because we have 2 attribute points. Remember, everything is going to be dictated by the learning rate, right? And you also have this green line that's your learning limit. So increasing the attribute points, as you see, increases that learning limit and increases your learning rate. So we're going to be at a natural 4.5 on our medicine, which is going to go very, very quickly. And the reason I'm putting both of my points into intelligence is because we also want to increase our steward quickly as well, because this will increase our party size. Every jump of our clan level is of course going to progress that forward, but I like to get social and intelligence up pretty high because it's going to help with charm, leadership, steward, and well, the little scant portions of medicine and trade if you so wish. Now, as you progress from this point, keep in mind that you want to really make sure that you keep your athletics up, probably more so than writing, and I'll reinforce that multiple times, don't worry. And you want to make sure that the corresponding attribute for that does go up. So if you say want polearm at 250, 275, you're going to need 7 or 8 vigor. But just kind of do that as you approach your learning limits and your learning rate. I don't want my learning rate to really drop much below 2 or 3. Depending on the skill and where it's at. Like as you reach like 250, it's just naturally going to drop to like 1.25 or 2. You just can't avoid that. But in the initial portions of the game, having something like athletics getting 6.5 learning rate is really nice because it's going to progress that athletics up. And do keep in mind, remember, you're going to be on a horse. So your one-handed and polearm skill is going to raise alongside your riding skill. Those will go, it'll all go up so innately very quickly. It's athletics you're going to have to really focus on, and charm, steward are going to go up with your diversity of food, and with, of course, talking to characters and releasing them. Releasing them is really crucial here because this allows you to increase your relationship with them as well as increasing your charm skill. But let's now warp forward and see what this starts to look like. See what these skills start to look like as we progress through the game. Warping forward in time, this is what this build should look like as you start to hit like at least a mid-game level, and from there it's pretty much kind of however you want to proceed. So let's go through some of these perk choices we've gone with and just kind of take a look really quick at our skills. So one-handed is at 118, polearm at 139. You naturally should have polearm probably a little bit higher than one-handed, depending upon what kind of battles you're getting into. I find I get into a lot more field battles and siege battles where polearm I would be used a lot more. Riding and athletics, try to focus on getting your athletics up as much as you can. You'll be able to do this in a lot of arenas, in a lot of siege battles, stuff like that. Even opting to fight on foot for a little bit of time to try and really increase your athletics is a really, really strong benefit to you. I like to put as many focus points into this as fast as possible, just to make sure the learning rate is really, really high, because there's just so many benefits in athletics. Charm and leadership. Charm can be really raised very quickly by just talking to NPCs, doing any kind of barters with them. Also, a big thing here is releasing any NPCs that you capture in the play field when you're playing. I cannot stress enough how important this is, because if you go to create a kingdom, it allows you to have built relations with them, so you can recruit them into your kingdom very easily, and you'll be getting a ton of charm skill just by doing that. Leadership is going to go up when you are leading an army, and the easiest way to do this is becoming the vassal of another faction, and then basically having one of your own companions create their own party, and then using 0 influence to bring that guy into your party. So basically you're the same party, just as one army instead. Steward is going to increase naturally on its own by simply having as much food variety as possible. Doing this is going to naturally increase this very, very fast, and getting 5 full focus points into this early is a little bit more crucial than I think a lot of the other skills on here. So let's go through some of these perk choices, and we'll start here with Steward since we're here. You've got 2 options here. I like Frugal because paying party wages less is way better than just giving them less food. Food's easy to find. Money can always be nice to have. Drill Sergeant's going to be better here for all troops gain 2 daily XP, versus this one is tier 4 troops. You're better off just with all troops getting experience here, because the lower tier troops are going to level up much faster. You've got 2 options here as well, but I like to go with this one because this has governor attached to it, and your main character is not going to be a governor. This is going to make it so your workshops owned by you have 20% increased production, thus giving you more money. Also, siege engines are built faster. Paid and Promise is going to make it so your companion wages and recruitment fees are reduced by 25%, which is very, very nice, especially in the later game. Discarded armors can be donated to troops for increased experience, which works very well with this, Giving Hands. Discarded weapons can be donated to troops for increased experience. So these 2 things in conjunction allow you to level up all of your troops very, very quickly, and it's a really strong perks in my opinion. You also have Aid Corps, which is going to make it so you don't have to pay wages for wounded soldiers. You can choose this one if you so wish, which is influence gained from donating troops are increased by 25%, but I find that the influence gained period from donating troops is just not worth it to even bother with this. For Charm, you've got a Self-Promoter to gain influence and morale for winning a tournament or while besieging a settlement. It's the first one that's really important here. This one down here is going to give you increased influence gain from battles by 30%, and every time you defeat an enemy lord party, you gain 1 relationship with a random lord of your faction, which is very nice. You can go Oratory to get renown and influence for each issue resolved. Only do that though if you're doing a lot of quests. Those are issues resolved. Forgivable grievances and meaningful favors is basically, do you want to have a higher chance to avoid persuasion critical failure, or a higher chance to succeed in double persuasion success? I prefer just to have critical failure removed from the equation, so I go with this one. In Bloom and Young and Respectful is basically the choice of increasing the relationship gain of the same gender or opposite gender by 20%. I like Young and Respectful if I'm playing a male character, because this allows me to make it so that I can get a lot of relationship with any other lords in the game a lot faster. So I go with this one. Going into leadership here, you get combat tips, 2 experience per day for all troops. Again, you want the gain to all troops, because I think this one just is not as useful. Fervent attacker, additional 4 morale at the beginning of the battle when you're attacking. That doesn't matter because the other one here is stout defender, and that's 8 morale if you're defending. But I find that you're going to be attacking way more than you're defending in this game, and it's going to increase the rate of recruiting tier 1, 2, and 3 prisoners by 50%. So it's a nice little double bonus here. You have Authority, which is going to increase the party size limit by 5. Both these are kind of a wash, because you're rarely going to be a captain and you'll never be a governor. So you might as well go with this one that just gives you the party size limit. Famous Commander here is going to increase renown gain from battles by 50%, which is really nice. And also recruited troops start with a bonus experience of 200 experience. If you do really want to go down the route of trying to pull in a lot of bandits, you can do this. Convert non-bandit prisoners at 30% faster, which I think comes into one of these I think is Fire leader. Well, one of these is going to help. Haha. There. Veterans Respect. You are able to convert bandits into regular troops. So if you want to go with a heavy bandit playthrough, you definitely would want to go with this Veterans Respect and this Loyalty and Honor. Moving here into tactics, I did not go through on this character because I didn't really do much auto-resolving, so I really wouldn't worry too much about this. You can boost up your tactics, and there are a lot of really great skills here. It's just a very tedious one to really break into, so I have skipped over it. Riding here is going to be obviously very crucial to you because you are a Vlandian Knight, and you have right here a choice between speed or charge damage or maneuvering. I'm going with charge damage here because, again, we are a knight. And then again, Veterinary halves the chance of your mount becoming lame or dead after its fall in battle, and then Well Strapped increases your mount's hit points by 20%. I go with Well Strapped here because if my mount dies, it defeats kind of the purpose of this character. And personally, I want my mount to live through it. So having him have a higher amount of hit points means I can even dodge this entire occurrence of whether or not it becomes lame or dead after the battle outright. So I prefer the higher amount of health. Also, mounts of your commander troops have 10% more hit points as well. It's a party leader bonus, which is great. You have Nomadic Traditions. Mounted infantry increases your party speed by 30% here, which I think is really nice to get around the map quickly. The other option here is increased carry capacity of pack animals and better deal for buying and selling mounts. If you want to go really heavy into trade, get this if you want. But I find that carry capacity is easily fixed by just buying more pack animals. Sagittarius, you would skip, even though I am a Sagittarius. Sweeping Wind is what you want here, though, because it increases your mount's top speed and your party's speed by 5 and 2% respectively. Very good, very, very good perk. Then you also get Relief Force. This is not going to be as huge, but if you go to help your allies, your party starts with plus 10 battle morale, which is always kind of nice. Now, Athletics is where you get a lot of just great perks. It is, again, one of the strongest perks in the entire game, or one of the skills in the entire game, because it's how you move around. So, one of the big things here is your weight penalty is reduced, which is very, very nice. And you're going to see all that kind of pull in with some more perks here. So the first one is Morning Exercise, which increases your movement speed by 3%. You can go with the one that increases your hit points and then put troops in your party by hit points by 5. I just find that the movement speed is more beneficial. This first one here, Form-Fitting Armor, is so huge. Decrease your armor weight by 15%. It's just a no-brainer for me. This one increases while on foot, your weapon handling is increased by 10%. Whatever, don't care. I want to run around in heavy armor and my nipples not chafe. Going into the next one here, we have Having Going. Slightly increases your persuasion chance, increases your party size by 5. That's the big reason I chose this, is the party size. If you do want to go with that heavy smithing build I talked about, then you'd want to go ahead and choose this. Stamina increases stamina recovery rate by 50%. That is going to be very huge for you. Also, you got Powerful here, increases your damage with by 4% with all melee weapons. Very huge. Also, we get Braced, decreases your charge damage taken by 50%. The opposite here is increases your speed damage bonus by 30% while on foot. So if you do find yourself using a lot of foot play, if you're looking at a lot of those toe picks on OnlyFans, no, if you're doing a lot of sieges, doing a lot of arenas, maybe Surging Blow is a little bit more up your alley. I just went with this because I wanted to. Then into this last one, we have a choice between getting hit point regeneration and foot troop experience gain while traveling or while stationary waiting in a settlement. I think this one has its bonuses, right? You do get more HP regen and they do get more troops, but it requires you to wait in a settlement. You're going to be on the move way more than you're going to be waiting. This is the better perk in my personal opinion, but maybe if you want to do a lot of waiting in a town, the other one's better for you, but I definitely would go this route. Moving into Vigor, we get One-Handed and Polearm. So one thing I will say here before we jump into those, if you start to stall out, you're really taking a long time to level up, you need more attribute points, your focus points are falling behind, level up Two-Handed. Just jump into it in addition to leveling up your One-Handed and Polearm. It is a great way to just saturate a bunch of experience into your overall skill point gain needed per level. It is just the best way to push through a lot of those slogs that you're going to hit around this level, and you'll get another one around like 30, 31, where the game will just kind of really slow down. And that's where, if you really want to, you can jump into some control skills with crossbow and bow, because they're a little bit easier to level up. Throwing is also pretty damn easy, but I think that just going on foot and using a crossbow can level up your crossbow and athletics at the same time. These are just ways to kind of get through those sticking points in the leveling process. Now, into one-handed, we get some abilities here. The first one is a bit of a toss-up. This is Basher. Shield bashes now deal 50% more damage and stun your enemies for longer. I love this one. It's really good for arenas, but the other option here is one-handed weapons you wield have their handling increased by 20%. So factor this into how you're going to be playing. Are you going to do a lot of arenas and sieges? Go with Shield Basher. It's great. Being able to stun someone for a little bit longer to get that extra swing in is so crucial. But if you're going to be on horseback all the time, you really don't want to deal with arenas, just go with Deflect. Then you've got Swift Strike. This is again going to come down to your personal preference. I use swords, so this would be the one that would be beneficial for me. 2% swing speed with one-handed weapons. Alternatively, to be blunt, increases your damage with axes and maces by 5%. So if you want to go with a heavy two-handed bearded axe, if you really want to go that route, which is reserved for my Druznik play build that we'll do at a later time, then you would go with this. But I'm going to be sticking with swords, so I'm going Swift Strike. Then you get Cavalry. This is a no-brainer. One-handed weapon damage is increased by 5% while mounted. And then Trainer, increase your hit points by 2, but melee troops gain 5% more experience after every battle. And again, just further from here, you would just kind of do stuff that would stick more towards mounted gameplay. Larger shield protection area against projectiles versus this one, your shield takes 20% less damage while blocking the wrong direction. Like, don't care. Or this one here, infantry in your party gain a 10% of the total XP earned after battle versus infantry troops gain 2 XP daily. So kind of choose stuff that kind of fits your playstyle or the mounted playstyle in specific. Moving into polearm here. Again, a lot of the same. Cavalry is going to be obviously the choice. Increases your damage by 2% with polearms while mounted. We have braced polearm attacks that deal damage over 25% of enemy calves' hit points. Has 25% chance to dismount them. You can actually use keep at bay. Thrust attacks with polearms have 30% more chance to knock opponents back. This does apply to being on foot as well. So if you think like, oh, this won't apply to if it won't apply to being on horseback, it does. So you can get that bonus if you want. I just think this is a little bit more pertinent to what you're doing. We went with Clean Thrust over Swift Swing because we're using a lance that has a bracing capability. If we were using, say, a glaive, you'd want something like this, but that's not the focus of this build. Then we have got Footwork, which increases your combat movement speed with polearms by 2%. Contrary to what this icon looks like and says, this would apply to your cav, to your mounted combat as well. The opposite here is polearm attacks that deal over 25% of your opponent's hit points have 25% to knock them down. I just prefer to move quicker. Then you get Lancer, increases your speed damage bonus with polearms by 20% while mounted. This will change the game. You will be doing so much damage with just this ability. Moving to into Skewer, your Couch Lance has a 30% chance to stay couched after it kills someone. This is, again, just going to increase the momentum of your gameplay. You're going to be just swinging through stuff and ripping things down. I promise, it's so huge. Also, too, Unstoppable Force, your Couch Lance attacks deal triple damage against shields. So you can see that like this, and this are like kind of the coup de grace of your entire build where you will just pop off. And of course, too, you get stuff like Sharpen to the Tip. Those attacks with polearms have 5% increased damage. And then this one is really going to change the game for you because it grants you a speed increase and a damage increase. This is where you will really, really come into your own, is once you really kind of hit that top end of your polearm skill, you'll be ripping things down. So if I had to choose of the 6 combat skills, how to focus one the fastest, it would definitely be polearm, just to get to the way of the spear as fast as I could to help with that damage increase and that speed increase. Because remember, this unlocks at 275, but the skill point or the bonuses trigger off of the skills at 250. So you're basically getting 2.5% increase, and then the other one is 25 divided by 2, so 12.5. That's not 2.5, by the way. I am terrible at this math thing, I would suppose. But either way, you'll be getting a significant bonus to your speed and damage, and right from just the start of getting that skill. So this is going to give you an idea of how this character looks at the mid game. From here, it's increasing the same skills. Trying to jump into polearm as fast as you can to the way of the spear, getting your steward to naturally increase itself. Leadership and charm will come as you go. Athletics and riding, kind of focus again on these as you're playing the game. The nice thing about riding is you never have to specifically grind it out. You will with athletics because you are not a character on foot. So make sure you do not completely ignore this. You need to spend time doing bandit caves or hideouts, going and doing sieges, going and doing those, what's that thing called? An arena, to make sure that you get your athletic skill up. But the rest should take care of itself as you play, just to build naturally. So let's now move a little bit here into some equipment. Jumping into our equipment, this is what we're going to kind of go through here. Now, a lot of this is going to come down to your personal preference of, you know, are you going to be using a sword? Are you going to be using a mace, an axe, whatever it is when it comes to your one-handed? I personally love swords, so I'm going to stick with a sword. And really just kind of go about the game as you see fit. You know, iron spathas are really good starting swords that you'll find in abundance in the early portions of the game in both Imperial and Vlandian areas. The things you want to focus on the most here, though, are your swing cut damage, your length, and your handling. These are the three things you're going to be taking advantage of the most on horseback and even when you're on foot mainly. But length is king here amongst all else because this is the ability to actually reach the thing that you are swinging at. If you have a low length, let's say like the sparring sex, this has only got a length of 52. Good luck hitting something on horseback unless they are right up against your horse and you're leaning all the way over to the side that that person's on. So making sure you have a good length on your item is going to be pretty crucial here. And then just kind of go through things as you see fit. Sabers are good, but just kind of depends on what you find. As you look at stuff like broad arming swords are Vlandian in kind of cultural distinction. You can also tell from the scabbard here. Spathians and Spatha, they are both Imperial, but just kind of go through things as you kind of discover them. You're going to find a lot of stuff in the game, and that is going to then color how your equipment goes in the game. The big thing, though, and that's kind of the nice thing about Bannerlord, is you don't really need to focus on any one item to make a build work like you do for, say, Elden Ring, right? So what I would say is just kind of go about as you see things appear. You'll find maybe a rusty Thamaskene steel Spathian from attacking a noble, and that's a weapon you use until you get a normal one or one that surpasses it. I would say not to spend as much money on swords because you will find way more in the game than you should probably be able to afford at certain points in the game. Like getting a rusty steel Thamaskene steel Spathian early in the game is not as hard as, say, buying one outright. When you have they're just so much more expensive at that point in the game. So just kind of do this as you see fit. But one thing I would say, if I had to choose, hey, what is the best weapon in the game? For me personally, sword-wise, it's early retirement. And the reason behind this is early retirement, what goes on your back, so it looks cool as hell. But early retirement is a bastard sword, meaning it can be either one-handed or two-handed. It has an amazing length at 115, a good handling at 86, and a swing damage of 74. That's with the one-handed variant. You can switch over to two-handed and get the difference here in stats here. But the problem with this sword is you can only find it in Vlandian, Imperial, and I think Stygian, but I'm pretty sure it's just Vlandian and Imperial arenas as a reward. So to find this easier, you're going to want to find any kind of arena that has a ton of nobles in it. So a place that's on the outskirts of, or the frontier of a territory or an empire that is attacking another one. So they're going to be resupplying in a town. This allows you to jump into that town and fully resupply, or jump into an arena, hopefully, and be able to hopefully win this. It's completely RNG. You might get it early in your game, you might never get it, you might get it mid or late. It doesn't really have any set circumstance to really appear. Just the propensity, or I'm sorry, the appearance of more nobles in a town makes for higher rewards. And this thing I think is amazing. And as I said in the skill section, when you start to slow down on your skills, simply using this in a two-handed variation, you're now getting two-handed skill and you don't have to carry a one-handed and a two-handed weapon around. I think it is absolutely awesome. There are still plenty of other like bastard swords in the game that you can use instead, but early retirement I think is one of my favorite ones here. But stuff like this back sword, the War Razor, these are other examples of bastard swords you can use that'll really help you out. Also, when it comes to lances here, you'll probably start with this light cav lance. The big thing you want to look for is that couch lance, right? That is the big thing because that's what you're going to be doing as a knight in the game. You can also, one-handed and thrust this thing. It's just, not as good damage as the couch lance. And especially as we go through all the skills, this gets more and more and more powerful. which you'll probably find yourself jumping into stuff like the Cav Lance or the Heavy Knight Lance, which used to be called the Vlandian Lance, I believe it was. I think that's what it was, or it is now. Or the Vlandian Lance is somewhere in here, and I'm just an idiot. But either way, you'll progress heavier and to better and better lances all the way up to probably the Noble Cav Lance. Now, the big thing you want to look at here is your length. That is always crucial. Thrust damage is nice because sometimes you just want to stab things. If you're going full tilt on your horse and you stab someone, you still will do a lot of damage. Couch Lance just makes you do like 400, 500 damage, something ridiculous. And like I've said before, if you go the blacksmithing route, you can make the best lance in the game. This, as far as just buying a lance, this is the best one. But making one, you can make one with a longer length, a better thrust damage. Handling, you want around 63 or so. But pretty much, this is your baseline best lance until you can actually smith one out. Moving into, I'll put all the best items on. Moving into our shields. Again, this is something that's just, you can find shields very easily in the game. You'll probably have something like a reinforced kite shield or the leather-bound kite shield right in the opening portion. They're dirt cheap. Just go ahead and buy one if you don't already start with one. And as you make your way through the game, you'll find stuff like reinforced kite shields. You'll come across them pretty quickly and pretty easily. They'll be battered versions or broken, depending upon what happens in the battle. You can just slap them on. Just basically, you're looking at your hit points. Speed doesn't matter as much because you're not going to be doing a lot of shield bashes. But basically, until you find a bracketed heater shield or a wide heater shield, you're pretty much, once you get to those, you're pretty much set for the game. You can jump into something like a tall heater shield if you absolutely need that 90 extra hit points. But you can see the price on it is just ridiculous. So you'll be just fine. I mean, you do lose 2 weight on it, so that's the kind of upside here, but the bracketed heater shield is a pretty sweet shield, and I used it for a long time in this build. The wide heater shield, too, is really cool just to get a different look of a different shield, so you can just stick with something like that. They're tier 3, tier 4. There's no reason to break the bank on them for just a shield that's going to keep you alive throughout the majority of the game. Moving into armor too, you're going to be able to find a little bit of trouble with certain pieces. So what I would say is try and find a padded leather shirt as fast as you can, or a leather scale armor. Now, leather scale armor and the padded leather shirt are both also civilian gear items. They are the best civilian gear items that allow you to do stuff like the King of the Hill stuff with other gangs. This gives you a little bit of armor to have when you're doing civilian stuff, and it's a pretty cool little early game armor. And as you progress, you'll find stuff like boarskin leather coat, which has less body but more leg armor, stuff like that. And as you do other things, you'll just progress through better and better. I mean, this is a cured studded leather armor you'll find in abundance in the Imperial lands, and it's a really, really, really solid piece of starter armor. It's very inexpensive, and it is, I think it'll carry you through a lot of the game. Then as you kind of jump into stuff like the banded leather mail or the mail shirt, which you'll find throughout portions of Vlandia, you'll start to get way better body armor and leg armor on, but it is a little bit more expensive. I would say only jump into the higher price point armor if you can truly afford that sacrifice. If you really find yourself dying a lot, then jump into a nicer piece of chest armor. It'll help you out with a lot of aggregate armor across the rest of your body. Now, when it comes to your helmets, you're going to be finding so many helmets by doing arenas, like stuff like these kettle helmets. They're going to be in ridiculous excessive amounts as you play through the game, because you can see there's like 50 variations of each one. So just simply doing arenas will allow you to get so many different types of helmets. Don't really worry about those, because the early and mid game, you'll just be picking your way through different versions of these and putting them on your companions for the most part. You can kind of aspire to stuff like this, the knight helmet with the bronze face guard, more of that Norman looking early medieval helmet, or the full helm with coif. Of course, like the consummate Vlandian helmet is the crowned helmet or the crowned plate helmet to get a different look going. So just kind of go with whatever you end up at. You won't probably get one of these anytime soon because they're pretty expensive. The best way to probably do it is either marrying someone who has this equipment, or just by simply getting lucky and it drops when you attack them. But You'll find so many good helmets throughout just doing arenas that it's not as crucial of a worry. Shoulder armor is at a bit of a premium when it comes to Vlandian specifically themed shoulder armor, so go with whatever you want, because the majority of shoulder armor is not going to break the make or break the game for you. Like, this is one of the only Vlandian themed ones, and even I think the Banner Knights have just like the hood on. So I would say just kind of choose whatever fits your overall aesthetic. Even Legionary Cape if you want to go with that. This one's the newer cape if you want to. Even just this thing is really simple but really cool looking, even though it's Imperial themed. I always kind of end up with this armor because it's so goddamn cool looking. Get that cool Vlandian Rampant Lion. And then also same thing with arms. Just whatever you find, whatever kind of fits the overall aesthetic. Arm armor is not too crazy. Now, leg armor you do want to have a good idea for, but I will tell you that stuff like the strapped mail chausses are very easy to find, and they're great leg armor at 23. You can get them in the very early portions of the game, so you can jump on those. Horseman boots is what you probably start off with, but you can just go all the way down here and find stuff like these decorated plate boots. They're going to be super expensive, or lamellar plate boots, super expensive. But stuff like these mail cavalier boots or mail chausses or strap mail chausses are very cheap, and you can just kind of pop them on your character, and it gives you a lot of leg armor that's going to help from the waist down, which you will be subject to because you will be on a horse. Which brings us into our horse. Now, you'll probably start with a saddle horse, which is, no, you'll probably start with this guy right here, the Sumpter horse. You want to get rid of the Sumpter horse as fast as possible because it is a beast of burden. It is meant for carrying things, not for battle. So even just getting a saddle horse, which is more built for battle than the other ones, is a good starting point. But I would say in the very beginning portions of the game, look for something like a Stygian Trotter or a Midlands Palfrey. This gives you a good amount of charge damage, a good amount of hit points. I prefer the Stygian Trotter because it gives me a little bit more HP. The speed is just going to be pretty miserable until you get into the better mid-tier horses at riding skill 60, which then you get you stuff like Battanian Warmount, which gives you good charge speed, charge damage, 48 speed, and then 240 hit points. And then you're going to go into stuff like the Vlandian Corsair too, which I really like because it gives you 12 damage, 52 speed, 240 HP. Probably one of my more favorite mid-tier horses. Then you can look at stuff like the Stygian Chaser if you so wish. If you want to get a little more speed and maneuverability, but at sacrificing a little bit more of those hit points. Personally, I want the highest speed, charge, and hit points. In that order, I think. Or I'm sorry, speed, hit points, and charge. Charge damage isn't that massive, but having the factor increase is always quite nice. This will ultimately culminate in the top tier horses of stuff like the Storm Charger, which on paper looks amazing. 20 charge damage, 60 speed, but 130 hit points. So be careful with that one. It's a bit of a class cannon. The Destrier is the consummate Vlandian horse with 13 charge speed, charge damage. I keep saying charge speed. 13 charge damage, 60 speed, and 250 HP. If you can somehow find it, you probably, I don't know how you find it in the game naturally. You can find it by pulling it off your brother or something like that. But the Pure Blood is probably the best horse you can get because it is very well rounded, has high charge, high speed, good maneuverability, great hit points. So if you can find it, go for it. I'm cheating and I've got it, so it's kind of like neither here nor there. But Destrier is something that you can win in the Vlandian arenas, and it is a great horse to use. But keep in mind though, with the horse armor, you're not going to just want to go crazy with this. You start with the light harness, but then you get stuff like Battanian horse harnesses, stuff like that as you play through the game that give you a little bit more. I would jump into something like a light saddle as fast as you could because that doubles your armor at the same weight. It's a very nice, very simple, very cool looking. But keep in mind that once you start progressing past this point, it's going to really weigh your horse down. So jumping into Lamellar Half-Barding, it's great. It gives me 38 armor, but it's 70 weight. So if your horse is, let's just look at the Stygian Trotter, the first horse we talked about. It's only got 44 speed. So if you've slapped 70 armor or 70 weight armor onto it, you are going to be going extremely slow. So really only upgrade the armor as a secondary thing to the horse itself, because you're going to really weigh that thing down. If I put the best horse armor on the slowest horse, I'm going to be going slow as hell. 130 weight, whew, this guy is not going to be going anywhere. Sure, I'll have 64 armor, but I'm pretty much going to be a moving a sitting target at that point. So upgrade your horse's speed before you really jump into that armor, and then kind of make sure they're running hand in hand, right? Don't jump onto the highest, best barding if you've got one of the mid-tier horses. Jump onto a better horse before you do that barding jump. That should help you out in your breakout of your equipment for your Vlandian Knight. So hopefully this now gives you a better idea of how to create a Vlandian Knight in Mount and Blade 2 Bannerlord. Now, of course, there are a bunch of different ways you can approach this. And like I've said before, if you go down a heavy smithing route, you're going to want to kind of diverge how this character is made. And another big note here is there are a ton of amazing mods out there that allow you to create a very awesome looking, kind of more Crusader style of Vlandian Knight. And I've used just the stock game to just give you an idea of the vanilla game, just to give you an idea of how to make the game from the ground up using really what you've got in the game as is. But like I said, if you head on over to Nexus, you can find so many amazing mods here that maybe have the Swabians that give you a really cool looking armor, or have really cool winged helmets and stuff like that. Again, I didn't do that just so it's easier for someone trying to approach this for the first time. Maybe going through it and going, why the hell does my character look that goddamn cool? But like I said, jump onto that and you can find a lot of different ways to do it. And if you do find yourself stalling out with skills, again, like I said, make sure you jump through any of the kind of stuff as it pertains to the two-handed skills or crossbows or throwing. You will hit that stalling point around level 20, and that's totally normal. It's going to require you to put a lot of skills into, a lot of attribute points into the ones that you really want to push up. So Vigor, for example, is going to need to be around 7 or 8 until you can actually get to 250, 275 in your polearm. Same thing with all the other skills. So making sure you're putting those attribute points in the places that need to be is really going to be the key thing for you. So if you have any questions, anything that you need help with when it comes to this build or any future builds, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. I've got some other ones planned, like perhaps a Sturgian Berserker, a Battanian Fian, something that is actually on foot, so that's a different kind of play style than what we've gone through already, which has now been a knight and a horse archer for our beginners build. And you can check that out, linked in the upper right hand corner above. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.